This is going to be the last update on the Gabby Petito case for tonight, Thursday, September 16th. This was posted in the Gabby Petito Reddit thread. I don't know what the right word is for Reddit. It says, these two were in our store in Victor on either August 25th or 26th in the afternoon. They said that they had just been to Teton Park and were talking about going to Yellowstone. We talked about the western entrance. I told them they would need to go through Teutonia and Ashton, etc. So this would be in Idaho, and this person is saying that they spoke to Gabby and Brian on either the 25th or the 26th, which would be the day or the day after her family last heard from her. We're not sure of the validity or how true this is, but if it is, it could be very interesting in helping trace Gabby's last known whereabouts.
Both. This couple from Spring Hill was visiting Grand Teton National Park on August 25th. That is the same day Gabby's mom says she last spoke with her daughter.
I feel so bad for this family.
When Shannon Baker from Spring Hill learned about the search for Gabby Petito, right away she says she recognized the white Ford van. She posted a comment on a Yellowstone Facebook page she follows.
The very next day, an investigator friend, retired police officer of the father, sent me a messenger message, so I called him back.
Baker says she let him know she and her husband spotted the van around 5 p.m. on August 25th at the Jenny Lake parking area in Grand Teton National Park.
They added the roof rack and that, the ladder on the back, and then we saw the Florida tag. And it was funny because you didn't see a lot of Florida tags out there.
The family investigator told her
another park goer believes he may have seen her.
Baker tells 8 on Your Side she hopes other park visitors come forward with tips that can help solve this mystery that's captivating the country.
Somebody out there probably has something on their phone or their camera. They have to. There were so many people there.
So I saw Brian Laundrie parking his van August 26th at Spread Creek. So I'd already reported to the FBI what I had seen, I wasn't 100% sure, but now that there's dash cam footage of the van where I saw it, I'm 100% certain that I did see him parking his van. And he was very kind of awkward and confused, and it was just him. There was no Gabby, but that's only because as a van lifer, I was checking out their van, and I was checking out to see if it was a couple or a solo dude. So it was a solo dude as far as I could see, unless she was in the back somewhere. But when I pulled up, he was driving still and hadn't yet pulled over. So I was like, hey, what are you going to do? Are you going to get over? Are you going to let me pass? Because it's only one car width of a road. And he kind of pulled over like halfway and made me drive out of the road to go around him. So I thought it was just really weird. And for a timeline, it was parked on the 26th, I believe. Sorry, my last video cut off. I guess I could only get 60 seconds, but it's probably a good thing because the FBI actually called me back after I posted that, and not because they saw my TikTok. So a group of friends and I were camped at Spread Creek from the 22nd to the 29th, and in that time frame, we all independently noticed that van parked there. And I noticed it particularly because I had seen it trying to park, and also because it wasn't actually parked in a designated spot. The Spread Creek area is a bunch of designated camping spots, and you're not supposed to camp outside those designated spots, and this van was not in a real spot, so I figured they'd get booted by the people that patrol the area. But the van was there for several days and nights, and it did not get booted. The weirdest part about it was that there was no indication that there was anybody actually at the van. Usually small van people have their doors open, they're outside, they have a hammock, something, but we didn't see any signs of actual life at the van.
TikTok. This is in regards to the Brian Laundrie and Gabby, the missing girl. I had taken a trip the end of August from Louisiana up through Colorado and Montana and Wyoming. I picked a friend up at the Jackson Hole Airport on August 26th, Thursday. that morning. And we went through Jackson Hole. Then we went through the Tetons and Yellowstone. We came out the West Gate, and we stayed at West Yellowstone, Montana for the evening. We went out to a restaurant that night called Bullwinkle's, and about 10 o'clock we moved into the bar. There was us and another couple that we had met while we were eating dinner. We were discussing things, politics, guns, hunting, all the stuff you don't talk about in a bar. And there was a guy at the end of the bar that was just quiet. He was visibly bothered or mad, it looked like, when we came in. And I guess our conversation just kind of irritated that fact when he finally made a comment, something about stupid Southerners and Republicans. And I kind of laughed and said, well, where are you from? And he said that he was from New York in a pretty strong New York accent. And said his name was Brian. And I said, as we laughed, I said, you picked an odd place, the middle of nowhere, a small town in Montana. What did you expect, that you weren't going to run into any conservatives or Republicans? Anyway, not much else was said. He made a couple of remarks, and we went back to our conversation. It was just a creepy encounter. It was one of those situations where it was kind of one of those people, it was almost like he looked through you. I didn't notice him using a phone, things that the FBI have asked. We did notice that he had a backpack. We left about 11:50, and he was still there. My friend was visibly uncomfortable. She even made a comment on the way to the car about serial killers and kept watching behind us to make sure he wasn't following us. And I assured her that it wasn't an issue. I mean, I'm concealed carry. I was actually armed when we were in the bar. And we went to the hotel. We did talk about it on the way home. It was odd. In the last few days, though, we've watched the news and realized that was the guy. That was Brian, this girl's fiance. So we contacted the FBI. Both of us made reports to the FBI, and just kind of watching the news now and seeing where it goes. But that was our encounter.
That we not only saw, but saw like a blowout of a situation between Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie in Wyoming when we were there. Yes, we have already talked to authorities. Like, how I did not put two and two together that this happened, I don't know. So I'm following this case. Matt's not, he's less. I'm filling him in on this case a couple days ago, and I guess maybe he Googled it and saw a picture of Brian. Matt has an insane photographic memory. And so for 2 days now, he's like, I know that guy Brian. I don't know how, but I know this guy Brian. I've seen him before. Anyway, we were in Wyoming. So Matt woke up this morning and he's freaking out. And he's no, I know how he looks familiar. Nina, we saw them in Wyoming. They were the couple fighting at the restaurant. We were at this restaurant, you guys, Friday, August 27th, 1 p.m., sitting right next to them. They got kicked out of the restaurant and were fighting with the hostess. They were fighting with the hostess. She was hysterically crying, and she walked out, and she was crying, and she was staying on the sidewalk, and I was watching the whole thing unfold. And he walked back in the restaurant, and he's fighting with the hostess, and I didn't know what happened. I don't even know if they got kicked out, but they left abruptly, and she was standing on the sidewalk crying, and he walked back in and was screaming at the hostess, and then walked back out, and then he walked back in 4 more times to talk to the manager and to tell the hostess off, and I did not remember this situation. It just left my memory. We stayed in Wyoming for another 4 or 5 days for a wedding, and we just had an amazing trip, and I didn't think about the couple fighting in the restaurant ever again. But Matt knew he had seen this guy before, and he could not drop it. And then it just clicked this morning. He woke up out of bed and he was screaming bloody murder, and he was like, I know, I remember it was them in the restaurant. And it just I felt my blood left my body. I was like, oh my God, you're right, it was them. It's just crazy. It feels surreal. Now I feel So I'm going to try to go like more into detail now. I just wanted to get like the general, just like the gist of it out there. I went to the bath. They were sitting right next to us, like right next to us. And we were both sitting right by the hostess stand, right by the front door. I went to the bathroom. I came back and they were like abruptly leaving, like something happened. At first, my first like thought was like they were displeased with the service and they were walking out, or they were trying to get out of paying their bill, but it was kind of like a scene. And I was like zoned in for some reason, and Matt was like on his phone, and I was like, babe, like put your phone down, like something is like going on. You guys, it was like a scene, like something that doesn't happen every day at a restaurant. The way he was acting, she was crying, she was upset. So she walks out, she's upset, she's crying, and he's like more angry. Like you could tell like it's more sadness for her, and she's crying for some reason. I don't know if she was embarrassed or what, because I don't know, I couldn't hear, I don't know what was going on. I could just see what was unfolding. And so she's standing on the sidewalk, I could see her through the front door, and she's standing on the sidewalk crying, and he walks out with her, but then like right away turns around, walks right back in, and he's, you know, kind of like violently like talking to the hostess, and you could tell he's angry, and they're just kind of like doing the whole like sorry, like we don't know what to tell you kind of thing. You could tell he was relentless. He wouldn't drop it. Whatever it was, he wouldn't drop it. He walked out. He walked back in the restaurant probably 4 more times, just to kind of make a scene and just to get his point across, which, you know, I don't know what that was. I really don't know what happened, but she just apologized. I think she was telling him like, come on, like just drop it, let's go. And she like looked at the hostess and she was just like, I'm sorry. And that was it. And I would have never remembered that. I would have never, like, I was so obsessed with the case and the story, and like I didn't even really think for the longest time at the fact that we were in Wyoming at the same time as them. Like it didn't even cross my mind. And that story of like a couple fighting in a restaurant, or that, you know, that situation, I would have never thought of that without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, I'm 1,000% positive it was them. Like we didn't just see them walking on the street. Like we witnessed an incident, like a whole like ordeal. Like it's crazy. And I didn't put this out there for attention or for any other reason, for any other ulterior. I didn't have any motive. Simply there because 1, it's crazy, and 2, I hope that it helps with maybe adding the timeline together of what happened leading up to her death. And that's it.
On August 27th, 2021, we got camera footage going through the Grand Tetons Park around 6 to 6:30 p.m.
This is at the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. We got there and there was a huge gravel lot, and we decided we wanted to try to drive more toward the back because we had heard the views were better back there. So we were heading back on this long dirt gravel road.
And we came across a white van that had Florida plates, a small white van. We were going to stop and say hi because we're from Florida too, but the van was completely dark. There was nobody there, so we decided to continue on our way.
Yeah, the van looked like it was pretty much kind of abandoned. We figured maybe they were out hiking or they were just chilling inside. There was no doors open. You know, it was just kind of, you know, neat to see a Florida plate, you know, on the other side of the country. It's not something you see all the time.
But we wanted to include this in the video just in any way that we can help and get this out there to be able to find Gabby Petito. So if you could share it, if you know anything, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, as we're coming up on it, we're approaching it up here on the left-hand side. This is most definitely Gabby Petito's Ford Transit van. It's kind of wild, like it's insane a little bit, because we drove past, we actually weren't able to find any sights, and we ended up driving back through, saw it again, but here it is on the left. So. And
I slowed it down so you can possibly see it a little bit better.
But kind of freaky for a late Saturday evening, but we just kind of had a brain fart. Oh my God, there's that van. So if anybody can help, I know the FBI is looking for all the help they can get on the case.
Hi, my name is Miranda Baker, and on August 29th, my boyfriend and I picked up Brian at Grand Teton National Park at 5:30 at night at Coulter Bay. I'm hoping this can help someone identify him because I saw him from TikTok, which then made me call the authorities, and my boyfriend and I have been in contact with a bunch of different people to help piece together different parts of this case. But we picked him up at Coulter Bay, like I said, at 5:30. He approached us asking us for a ride because he needed to go to Jackson, which we were going to Jackson that night. So I said, hop in. He hopped in the back of my Jeep. We then, proceeded to make small talk. But before he came in the car, he offered to pay us like $200 to give him a ride, like 10 miles. So that was kind of weird. He then told us he's been camping for multiple days without his fiance. He did say he had a fiance, and that she was working on their social media page back at their van. Then once, in conversation, I brought up, we're going to Jackson. He freaked out. He's like, nope, I need to get out right now. Pull over. So we pulled over at the Jackson Dam, which I don't know if you know Teton Park, but it's not very far from Coulter Bay. And if this does reach people, I can post pictures of exactly where we were. We picked him up and the whole route or whatever, and screenshots of the timestamps. We dropped him off at 6:09 p.m. on August 29th. He kind of hurried out of the car, and then he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go find someone else to hitchhike. And we're like, okay. It was a weird situation. So when we picked him up, he was wearing a backpack, he had a long sleeve pants, hiking boots, and he had scruff, but he didn't look dirty. For someone who was camping for multiple days, he didn't look dirty, he didn't smell dirty, so that part was kind of weird. And I'm just really hoping that they find her, and this helps someone remember seeing him, or something like that.
To clarify a few things that people are confused on still, when he asks a ride, he has to go to Jackson, which, if you're familiar with the area, a lot of people call Jackson Hole Jackson. So that's why I said yes to giving him a ride. But you think any good hiker would know south and north. We were going south out of the park when he said he was camping north. He had told us that him and Gabby were not camping on a regulated campsite through the national park, that they were camping basically out in the middle of nowhere along Snake River. This is key information. He said that he had hiked for days along Snake River, but when looking at his backpack, it wasn't full, and he said all he had was a tarp to sleep on, which you think if you're going camping for days on end, you'd want food and a tent, and he had none of that. And like I said, he looked clean and didn't smell bad.
So this is a view of the whole journey with Brian. So that's the top at the park at Coulter Bay, and then we drove him to this dam right here. Then at the dam, we dropped him off at this little turnout, and he said he was going to walk across the street to the parking lot, which was full of people, to continue hitchhiking and look for a ride, because he freaked out when I said Jackson Hole. He said we needed to pull over, even though Jackson and Jackson Hole are the same thing. It's the same town itself. This is the text I sent to my mom at 6:09, right when he got out of the car, saying I was okay because she was freaking out. This is at the park, or at the pickup location, and we were taking a shower. We then walked across, and our car was parked on the left side of the picture, and he talked to us right in the middle. And he was talking to my boyfriend the entire time, but I was the one actually talking, and he was not frantic, and he was very nice, very polite to us.
In the case, so everything I have told you, they do know. I'm just putting this out here because I want to reach people who have maybe seen him that day, or have been in contact with him before, after my boyfriend were in contact with him. So this is when we picked him up. The exact time is 5:44. This is to my mom. We picked up a hitchhiker. She's obviously not very happy with me, and I now understand. So some common questions are, did he have a phone? No, he did not have a phone. My boyfriend and I did not see him pull out a phone at all during this time. Another thing is when he freaked out about Jackson. He has to go to Jackson. during the time I said we're going to Jackson Hole. Once I said Jackson Hole, he became agitated. He seemed like he needs to get out. He was kind of antsy, and that's when things got weird. But that's when we pulled over, and he said, if this jogs anyone's memory, please don't hesitate to reach out. I first, heard about this on TikTok a few days ago, which is why I'm putting this out on TikTok to hopefully reach out to someone who had also might have seen him that day and, picked him up before or after we did. And I'm just really hoping that this helps find Gabby and bring her home safe.
When Miranda Baker picked up hitchhiker Brian Laundrie here at Coulter Bay, he asked to go to Jackson, right? And Jackson is south. But I think what he realized was that when they turned here to go to Jackson, which you can't get to Jackson, that takes you back through the park. He probably assumed they were going to go this way, which is the bigger route, right? And Spread Creek, where we saw the van up until the 29th, was, right in this area. So I think he was trying to get back to this area and was like, oh, no, this isn't going to get me where I need to go.